and welcome. Uh, I'm so happy that you are here and that you have volunteered to be a host for our Global Friends Cafe project. So we started in spring 2023. That was the first time that we launched this project. And we are now going to phase two, but the video that I'm preparing today will move on to other semesters. Right? Of course, you can meet with me anytime that you have questions, but this will be a training. So the first thing I would like to say is how important your role is. I want you to understand how you're going to impact new international students coming to Fleming and coming to Canada. I'll tell a little story. When I first came from Brazil to Canada, I didn't know many people, and I was really depressed at the time because all my friends were in Brazil, my family was in Brazil, and I was here on my own. I was married, but my husband was Canadian, so a very different culture than my own. And all those things, the little things, like the food, the friends, the culture, the music, the climate, right? So many things that are different in Canada. All of them made me feel very lonely. And I met a lot of friends from my husband's side, from his family. And I met a woman who was his mother's friend. And I was at the supermarket once going shopping, and I heard my name being called. I didn't think it was me because Christina is a name that is very very common in Canada, although it's spelled differently. But I wasn't expecting anybody to call me, especially loud in a supermarket in the middle of everybody. So I didn't look, and that person continued to call me until I actually stopped and I looked. And when I looked at her, she came towards me with open arms and with a big smile, and she approached me, and I was so surprised that she was calling my name in the middle of the supermarket. It's not something that Canadians do, right? But she did that, and she said to me, Chris, I wanted you to know that you have at least one friend in Canada. And that touched me so much. I remember the story, and it was like more than 20 years ago. But how important it is to have friends, and how important is that one friend that you make before you arrive or when you're here. It's so good to know that you know at least one person. So your role is so important. You have no idea. Or maybe you do because you participated in the last project. So you know how important it is to you to have that one friend in Canada. And some of you did participate. So thank you so much for now being that person who is going to welcome others, and you're giving it back to those who are now coming to Canada. So I hope you can see. And I'm going to go through also some of this setup that we're going to have for the Global Friends Cafe so that you understand how to run the meetings. It's going to be very simple. Trust me, it's not difficult at all. So the first thing I want to do is to thank you. So thank you so much for accepting this important role of being a host, but most of all, being that welcome smile, that person in the middle of the supermarket saying, welcome to Canada, and you do have a friend. So thank you so much for participating. So the first thing is we're going to talk about what you need to do. So you're going to download WebEx, and it has to be WebEx for work. And why that is because if you download the WebEx for home, it's going to ask you to pay. And because you're a Fleming student, you have rights to download the WebEx. But in order to do that, you need to use your Fleming email. So it's the same Fleming email that you use to log into the portal, and also your password is going to be all the same. Okay? So make sure that you download the WebEx for work. Also, you're going to download the Microsoft Teams, the same thing for work, using your Fleming email to log in and your password, the same you use for Fleming. And the last app that you're going to need is the WhatsApp app, okay? So I'm going to start with showing you more or less what to do to download I'm going to just stop sharing this one here. And I'm going to share the other screen. And I'll send you this link, so do not worry about it. Okay, so this is the link to download WebEx. Make sure that you choose whatever system you have. Take a look at your computer. You'll see this if it's 64 or 32. Most of us are 64, but anyways, check that, download. And this is the sign in. Once you download, you're going to sign up using your Fleming account. So you're going to use this green button here. And then once you do sign up with your Fleming account and your password, you're going to be taken into a screen that will more or less look like this. Okay, so once you log in, it's going to look like this. Now, every time that you log into your WebEx, it could be that sometimes it goes straight to it. Mine does that automatically because I use WebEx every day. But you may have to use the button sign in, which is this one here. So you can use the sign in with your student email from Fleming and also your password, right? And then you're going to get into this room. Okay, so this is basically to start a personal meeting, which is what you're going to be doing with your friends. So you're going to start, and then your friend will join. How will your friend join? Very simple. You see this here on the top? This is my meeting address. Okay, you see that there is a long address, and the last thing that there is my name. You see Christina.Saj. You can copy that. So you can click to copy, and then you can send to your friend. Perfect. Okay, so that being done, also, you're going to make sure that you download Microsoft Teams, okay, which is right here. The same thing you're going to download for desktop, for your computer, if you want to, or for your mobile. So you can go to your mobile app and download from there. We are not going to use Teams on the computer, but we are going to use Teams to communicate with each other, and also add all the information videos and the questionnaire I add there. And at the same time, you're going to have a sign-in sheet. So every month, I'm going to check, make sure that you have log in your time for your meetings, the day for your meetings, when you met with your friend, so that we are keeping track of your hours. Okay. The same thing you're going to do with Microsoft Teams. You're going to download depending on what you choose. And then you're going to log in using your Fleming account and also your Fleming password. Okay, very, very simple. The WhatsApp you can download from you probably already have, most of international students have WhatsApp, but you can download WhatsApp from your app store. And the WhatsApp is really a tool to communicate with your friends, to let them know that you're maybe waiting for them. Hey, you didn't show up. I've been here for a minute. Or, I had an emergency and I won't be able to be at the meeting. So make sure that you're always communicating with your friend. There's nothing worse than going to a meeting and waiting a long time for people to show up and they don't. So make sure that you are professional, that you are communicating with your friends, and ask them to do the same, to communicate with you whenever something comes up and they cannot show up for the meeting. Okay? And your meeting room will look like this. As I said, it's a long link, but usually your name is at the end. So it will be your name here. And also remember that you're going to be recording your last meeting. Okay, so your last meeting will be recorded. And I'll show you how to do that as well. There's a recording button. I will make a special video just for the recording piece. I'm not going to go through that on this presentation, but I'll show you how to record and also how to retrieve the recording, because you're going to have to share that recording with me. Okay? All right. So how is it going to work? So you're going to be having meetings with your new friends, right? In order to receive your co-curriculum record, your CCR, you are required to complete at least 6 meetings. Okay, we have done 4 meetings in the past. I had suggestions from many of people who participated in the first phase that they needed more time to know their friends. So at least 6 meetings, and the ideal number is really 8, because there are 8 weeks, right, until August. However, if you can't do eight meetings and it's something because of schoolwork or something, make sure you communicate with your friends, and you can maybe book in a week that maybe talk twice in a week, and instead, and leave that week that you have to study for your tests or something like that, or you have an exam, and without any meetings that week. Okay, so you are welcome to kind of manage your time accordingly so that it's not impacting your schoolwork, and making sure that you communicate that well with your peer who is outside of Canada. Okay. You're going to receive weekly emails from me with a theme, okay, and a series of questions to ask each other. Just know that these questions, they are just like a guideline for your conversation, so that you have, the conversation is flowing, etc. But make sure that you're not just restricted to those questions, right? The questions are just guidelines. You are welcome to speak about anything you want, okay? And as long as your friend is comfortable with the question, you are welcome to talk about that. Just make sure that you're asking, you be sensitive, and saying, I'm going to ask a question, and if it's too personal, you're welcome to not answer. I just trying to know more about your culture, and I'm sorry if I'm asking something that is not appropriate, but I'm learning from you, so I hope you understand. Anyways, so you're going to record the last meeting, and that will be week 6 if you choose to have only 6 meetings, or the last week that you have your last meeting, and that's going to be the end of August. Okay. All right. As I said, it's important to be professional. So if you are unable to attend a meeting with your new friend, please reschedule. It's important to let them know in advance so that they are not waiting for you. Be professional. Keep in mind they are also busy, but make the time to be with you. So, right? Always communication. Communication is key in anything you do. And then keep track of your hours and submit them by completing a timesheet, which I'm going to put available to you at Teams. And you have to send that to me, okay? Or via Teams. Teams is the best place to communicate with me. I see the messages right away because they pop on my screen, okay? All right. Conversation topics. So there will be different conversation topics, from family to your city to food, and different things that you do in your country that you want to share. But what I really recommend is to be culturally sensitive. I talked about this a little bit before. So try to research a bit about your friend's culture in advance, and that will give you some things to that you're curious about. So maybe you learn something, you go, wow, I'd like to ask more about that, and you can ask more about what you have learned. So it's important to know a little bit about culture, the other person's culture. I find that every time that I travel abroad, if I know a little bit of the culture, they go, wow, you know something about my culture. This is fantastic. The same thing with people. They come to me and they say, oh, I know something about Brazil. And they start talking and go, wow, this is really cool that you know something about my country. And knowing about my country, you know a little bit about me as well, right? Second thing is avoid questions that are too personal. If you think a question might offend the other person, ask them if it's okay to ask and explain you do not know if it's offensive in their culture. But remember, you're learning from each other and each other's culture. So sometimes it's okay. You gotta ask, right? Okay. Um, Another thing that is very, very important, there are only two people right now in the college that can answer immigration questions. Soon we're going to have some more, and you will know about these people. But if you are now in the cohort of fall 2023, which is the current phase 2, there are only two people. It's Stefania Jamiti and me, Christina Sadi, that can answer immigration questions. Do not answer any immigration questions. And the problem is, if you answer something that is wrong, that student will probably be penalized or will maybe miss a deadline or get the wrong information. So if they come to you and say, oh, can you answer about my study permit? Or how do you become a permanent resident? You can talk about your own experience, but you say, I can share with you my experience, but if you really want to know questions, answers to things that it's specific to you, you should contact Stefania or Christina. There are, bookings that they can do, and, they can come and talk to us just like you can come and talk to me. And I can answer questions, and so does Stefania. Okay, so immigration questions is a no-no. Okay, they can direct them to international. You can direct them to international@flemingcollege.ca, or they're going to book an appointment. All right, that out of the way. So I gave you a tour of the WebEx, and now I'm going to share with you a tour of Teams. So once you log into your Teams, you see mine goes straight to Teams, as I mentioned. You will see the icon of the Global Friends Cafe. You may have icon from other professors, right? We are not conducting meetings on Teams. We're conducting meetings on WebEx. And Teams sometimes fails a lot in meetings. That's why I chose WebEx. It's simpler and easy to use, easy to record and retrieve the recordings as well. So you will see that if you go to the Global Friends Cafe, you will see the file folder and the tab over there. And in the file folder, I'm going to put, you'll see class materials. So inside of class materials, you will see already the weekly questionnaire that I'm going to provide you every week, or remind you every week of the weekly questionnaire. I'm also going to put the recording of this meeting there, which is the training for you. And this folder is also, this team folder is also for communication. So you can communicate with me, you can communicate with each other. And students who are outside of Canada, they have no access to this folder. This is just us. Make sure you're always using your Fleming email, that you're communicating using your Fleming email with me, and that you're communicating on Teams. I'm not going to email anybody anymore on their personal email. I may copy for the first time, but once you have watched this training, you will know I will not be emailing you on your personal email. Okay, and Fleming should be the same thing, right? So this is week 1. So week 1, you're gonna go through, family values. Week 2, you're gonna be talking about personal values. Week 3 is like welcome to Canada. So you're gonna be talking about Canadian experience, yours and their experience, what they're expecting of Canada. And then you're going to talk about travel experiences, what you have experienced and they have experienced. Then you're going to talk about each other, more about you, and then talk about Fleming College. So you're going to have a lot to talk about Fleming College, educational institution, how it is different from your country. Then having fun or being fun. So these are questions that will go a little bit further on knowing your friends. And then the 8th week, which is the last week, you're going to be doing an evaluation of what you have learned about each other. Now, if you're not going to do all the 8 weeks, or maybe you're doing more than 8 weeks, if you want to meet more than eight, that's fine. The more you meet, the more you know the person. So you would jump into the recording of week 8. Okay, so let's say, for example, that you chose to do up to week 6. So when you get to week 6, instead of doing these questions talking about Fleming, you can include talking about Fleming, and then make sure that you go through the last week questions. So you would do week 6 and week 8 together. Okay. If you are doing the 8 weeks, then you don't have to worry about it because you're going to do just the week 8. But if you're stopping on week 6, you're going to do the week 6 questions, and then you're going to do the week 8 as well. Okay. So that's it for the teams, and that's it for the WebEx as well, and that's basically it for us. So that was a quick training, right? So I hope you understood. If you have any questions downloading the app, or with information, or you need help with the first meeting, or you need to run a WebEx with me to try things, or you're not getting it right, you can always send me a message through Teams, and I will make sure that you have all the tools necessary to get your meeting with your friend, going. All right. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you for coming, and thank you for volunteering to be a host for a new student coming to Canada. I hope you have a lot of fun. And then at the end of the project, we're going to get together and, have pizza together or have a dinner together, and talk about our experience and know other people who have participated in the project as well. So we're going to have a nice time together. It's always nice to meet people, right? Okay. All right. See you, and have a great time at the Global Friends Cafe.